We are the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology. You are joining us for our GeroConnect series. Today, we will be focusing on real student voices, online, in-person, and international experiences. If you have joined us for the previous sessions of our GeroConnect series, I did just want to remind you that all of the series are being recorded and will be shared on our YouTube as well as on our website. My name is Jasmine Dizon, and I work as an admission counselor at the university. Below is my contact information as well as a QR code that will take you to a place where you can share your contact if you would like to stay connected with myself or with the team. So, if you're unfamiliar, gerontology is the study of the aging process. The way that we view it is through through four core models: biology, sociology, public policy, and psychology. We also study medicine and its impacts on the aging process across the entire lifespan. The processes of aging are not only unique, but they are also societal. So we want to understand a bit more about individual aging processes as well as how society around people will change over the course of their lifespans. So, for today's conversation, to reiterate, we will be hearing from some of our esteemed alumni, listening to their perspectives as students, how their housing went at the university, as well as their academic journey, their career outcomes, and what they're kind of doing now. And then, of course, we'll reserve some more time for that Q&A that I mentioned. So again, I'd like to introduce our alumni who are joining us. So today I am joined by Lourdes Bustamante, as well as Doris Redman, Mengjiao Yan, and Amor Mathershed. So I would like to go ahead and begin with Doris. Doris is a graduate of our Master of Science in Applied Technology and Aging. She currently works for the National Investment Center for Senior Housing and Care, and she was in our online program. So Doris, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself and share just a bit more about your experience as a student, whenever you're ready, and then just go ahead and tell me when you'd like me to click through your slides.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here and share about my experience with the USC Gerontology program. Very, very impactful. I was also very grateful as an adult learner for the online student program. Made it possible for me to be working full time at a very stressful job. I was running an assisted living community while I completed my master's degree. So not only did I get a very quality education, but it was flexible for my schedule. The asynchronous learning worked really well. I'm always reminded to say that I was actually the very first graduate from that Applied Technology and Aging program, class of 2024. And I wouldn't be in the role I am today without the degree and the education that I received at USC. So I don't know if you want to do my little presentation now, and I'll just go through it a little bit more. NIC, as I mentioned, they're a nonprofit. They've been around about 30 years providing data and analytics to increase access, choice, and transparency in senior housing. Having a gerontology lens on the senior living industry has also been invaluable because it touches so many aspects of older adult lives and aging. And my role right now, I'm the principal for operations and age tech. So I do a lot of research and speaking engagements. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. All right, just a little bit about me. I was lucky enough in my life to have older adults around in my family. I knew my great-grandfather, and so a lot of my career path was in different services or in assisted living operations. But I knew I wanted to do more. I wanted to think a little bigger. And applied technology and aging appealed to me because we have a huge baby boomer demographic. Our society is rapidly aging. There's a lot of challenges for people who want to stay at home and age as opposed to going into communities. There's actually a shortage right now of housing, a shortage of caregivers. Technology is really the only scalable solution. So the Leonard Davis program was just perfect for what I wanted to do and serve the industry back this way. And last slide, I think there's one more. Or was that it? Nope, that was it. Okay. So that's just my little spiel. I look
Thank
forward to
you.
any questions you might have.
Thank
I'll
you
happy
so
to
much,
answer.
Doris. I appreciate that. So, as like you can see, we're going to be moving on to Mingxiao next. But before we do, Doris, can you share just a bit more about what your experience as an online student was like? How did you stay
Mhm.
connected with your faculty as well as classmates in the program while you were remote?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people think, oh, you do online learning, you're going to be isolated. I think USC has done a really great job of um, making sure that students connected, even with the instructors and professors who were a part of it. The program were all very available. Plus, the gerontology department. I can't speak for other schools at the USC, but had a lot of on-campus events and get-togethers and gatherings that I was able to attend since I'm just in Southern California and Orange County, and that really helped a lot as well. So I think that combination of availability, making the connections with students, the online learning tools were very easy to engage and connect with other students.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Alrighty, so again, everybody got a preview of Ming Zhao a moment ago, but he was a part of our PhD in gerontology program and was one of our in-person students. So I will go ahead and pass it over to you, Ming Zhao.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here. I want to emphasize that I also did my master's here before joining the PhD program. I came here in 2018. I started with the master's in aging services management program. And when I was a master's student, I really enjoyed my life here. And yeah, I myself, I'm an international student. So I grew up in Beijing. I came here in 2018. Why I got into gerontology because my background is business administration. And when I was looking for like graduate school options, I was kind of realized that aging will be a pressing issue in the future, maybe half a century or even longer. So yeah, I'm sure you all know about the aging population and which is a pressing issue we are facing in today's society. And at that time, I was kind of interested in building up on my undergraduate training in business administration to seek opportunities in the health and aging industry. That led me to uh, consider the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology, which is the best institute that study aging in the world to study aging services management. At that time, I gained a lot of kind of exposure and knowledge from my professors here. I learned a lot about how to administer aging services, how to promote products and programs to improve older adults' life. And I myself, like Doris has said, we had a lot of on-campus events. I really enjoyed the atmosphere in USC. So I decided, yeah, I want to stay longer and get into more about my research in aging. So that is in 2021, I joined the PhD program. And in during my PhD program, I was kind of majorly affiliated with the Fall Prevention Center of Excellence, which is on the uh, left side of the slide. There's a homemouse.org, which is our website. This website is the largest website in the world that is dedicated in fall prevention and home modifications. So in that fall prevention center of excellence, which is the research lab I'm working at, we focus on how to use home modifications, which refers to uh, modifying your home to make it safer place and then to prevent falls and create a more livable environment for you. So over the past almost 6 or 7 years, I worked at the Fall Prevention Center of Excellence, where we did research that promote healthy living at home and prevent falls. We also conduct uh, basic and applied social science research. So basic research is we use kind of secondary and publicly available data to look at the mechanisms, what lead people to fall, what kind of promotes people to use home modification services, and how can we get uh, information from existing information to inform policy and practice. And we also improve access to services, programs, and products. So on our website, we have a database that contains all home modification programs across United States in each of the states. And we also have a lot of resources for different populations that who wants to know how to use home modifications and how to deliver home modification services. And at the Fall Prevention Center, we also generate reports, um, graphics to disseminate evidence-based practices. And I myself, I also partner with community organizations. On the right side of the slide, you will see, which is a bio of me, which is posted by an organization called Engage for Life. That organization is a service deliver that deliver services, especially like well-being activities to affordable housing communities. It deliver uh, wellness activities to over 40 affordable housing and senior housing communities in California. So I also partner with community organizations and do program evaluation research to evaluate their health and wellness programs. Next slide, please. So in this slide, I will kind of briefly introduce my dissertation research because as a PhD student, everybody needs to write a dissertation to finish your degree requirement. So my dissertation focuses on the service delivery and utilization of home modifications for aging in place. So I studied how to make service delivery process better, and I also studied to analyze what motivates people to use home modifications and what are the barriers for them to get the services. And in the slide, you'll see a picture of some home modification strategies, which includes like remove hazard at home, like remove clutter, chores, and you can also add support, which includes add grab bars and handrails. Those are the commonly seen home modifications. And in the future, we will see like smart home technologies as that is more common to be added in your home. And home modification strategies also include change behavior, such as you move your frequently used items to easy to reach places and sit rather than stand while preparing food. And home modifications has a lot of benefits, including making your daily activities easier, promote independent living, reduce falls and injuries, support caregivers to do caregiving tasks, and also it has been proved to be cost effective because it can reduce potential injuries at homes. So those are kind of my research and my basic experience here, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mingzhao. I'm sure that there will be a few questions not only about your research, but also about your experience as an international student in both of the programs. So thank you so much for sharing that. Next, I would go ahead and like to move on to Lourdes Bustamante. So Lourdes was a member of two of our programs as well. So she has earned a Bachelor of Science in Human Development and Aging, as well as a Master of Arts in Aging Services Management. So she is currently an administrator and director of hospitality at the Varial. So I will go ahead and pass it over to Lourdes now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. And also, I think it's so exciting that we have people that are interested in wanting to join the Gerontology program. I did my undergrad in human development and aging, and I did a minor in entrepreneurship, and I graduated in 2021. And then I did my master's as well. For those of you who aren't aware of the progressive degree program, if you stay within the same field of study, you can get your master's in 1 year instead of two. So it's really an insanely amazing opportunity. And I graduated from Aging Services Management in 2022. But I mean, as an undergrad or even as a grad student, I think anyone who shows interest in the field, in this field, has a personal story with either a family member or someone they were close to. And USC Gerontology, at least, is the best school, I would say, in the world, just because of the resources. It's the oldest, it's the largest. So I think that's a really, really amazing opportunity that we have here. And the faculty and staff are also just some of the most distinguished in our field. And I think that's something that's very hard to go against. But something that also interested me was the fact that it's in Los Angeles. I'm actually from Texas. I'm not sure if, those of you who are interested in joining are local or not, but there are so many advantages to being in such a big city and exposure to so many different opportunities. But I also think that something that made my experience as an undergrad very, very unique was that USC Gerontology and the school itself offers so many different programs, activities, and clubs that you can join. And I really made an effort in just trying to be active, whether it was in the gerontology student board or outside. And that's where I made a bunch of friends that I still am very close to. And they're some of my lifelong friends. And I also, like Doris said, really enjoyed going to the luncheons. I think they were one of my favorite things. Besides the amazing food, that's actually where I got to interact with a lot of faculty, other students, staff. So I really, really recommend that at least. And the fact that USC Gerontology is a smaller school, I really love that close knit environment. So that's my piece as an undergrad and grad student. But if you go to the next slide, I will go over kind of my life after USC. While I was getting my master's, I had two professors, Josh Johnson and Jim Biggs, and they have a company called Momentum Senior Living. So it's a management company for several senior living communities. And while I was getting my master's, they invited me to be an intern for the Varial, which was a community that they were still building. I was their first intern here. Once I graduated, they offered me a position as their move-in coordinator. So I was kind of helping, you know, residents, people who were interested in moving in, guiding them through the whole process. As you guys all know, moving is a really hard thing to do, but doing it at 80, 90 years old is even harder. So having someone that they can lean on was my special role. And then I got promoted to director of hospitality, and now I'm the administrator, and that's 4 years since I graduated. So I really would say that this opportunity, I contributed to USC, the people I was able to meet there, but also what I learned in the program. And Momentum is opening more communities down the line. It does have several in California mostly, but also across the United States. So for those of you who are interested in senior living, Momentum is definitely a company that's looking for talent, especially in USC. And you do have the CEO of the company, Josh Johnson, giving classes at USC. So that's a perfect example of using the network and the resources that this program has. That's it for me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lourdes. So lastly, I would like to go ahead and welcome Amor Mathershad. She is one of our most recent graduates as well, and was also a part of our progressive degree program. So Amor, please go ahead and introduce yourself as well as talk a little bit more about your experience in both programs.
Hi, yes. Okay, so my name's Amor. I did my Bachelor's of Science in Human Development and Aging with the School of Gerontology, and I realized coming into USC, I didn't know too much about gerontology, and so going into that major, I was interested in, learning more about the aging process and how we kind of move and like attaining longevity. So I knew that throughout my coursework that was offered to me during my undergraduate that I wanted to pursue a master's of gerontology or in some sort of master's within the School of Gerontology to kind of further my studies and be able to learn more about the aging world. I was more focused on social studies and networking of like age tech within aging. So I chose the Master's of Science in Gerontology because it's a little bit more broad, especially if you're coming in from a bachelor's program to a master's program. Sometimes you don't know exactly the field of aging you want to go into, but you do know that you want to go into a field of aging. So I think that with the Master's of Science in Gerontology, I was able to take a lot of courses that were different. So I took like, home modifications to, death and dying classes. So I was able to kind of get gauge on what I wanted to go into. Also within the gerontology program, there's opportunities for you to have internships. So similar to what Lourdes was saying, you do have this class that is required of you to do an internship and you're paired with an amazing professor that's going to help you find these opportunities to find what you're interested in or what you think you may be interested in. And you're able to start off at that internship and kind of grow and see if you like it or not, what your strengths are. And then a lot of times after that, you'll be able to go back. So for me, I went to somewhere called Wallace Annenberg Gen Space. That's where I started my internship. And now I am with their team. So I'm an age tech coordinator and instructor, where we kind of work out different ways to find age teaching older adults how to use technology services and fixing the barriers where some older adults aren't able to access those forms of technology and what we can do to help that within the community center. I am a recent alumni. I think that USC in general does help their students kind of get by. They want them to feel very connected to our campus and our school. But specifically with Leonard Davis, we do have a strong bonds and strong community. So similar to what the other panelists were saying, our luncheons, being able to network and see a little bit more about what your interests are and networking with people that have the same interests and flourishing your career or just any of your goals that you want to have within your field of study is very convenient, I should say at the least. And then also having those student programs. So I was an e-board for student gerontology, student SGA, so Student Gerontology Association. And there are a lot of events and programs that were held. So for example, there was a What Matters to Me program where students were able to speak with their professors and get a little bit more of a gauge on why their professors chose to study the field of gerontology, maybe sparking new ideas for why they went into the field of gerontology and what they could do with their degree or in their career path. And there's also other events like Walk to End Alzheimer's or Andrus Volunteers, where you're working with older adults directly and getting more of a feel on the aging world and just careers in aging. And yeah, as an in-person student, I thought it was just very community driven, but I also noticed that in my classes with students who were online, the teaching and the facilitating of the classes allowed for us to have connections, whether you were online or in person, just having that feeling of being connected with your school, with the School of Gerontology, and being able to gain more insights from your peers or from the people who are just in the aging field around you. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Amor. So yeah, well, now I'm just going to ask a few questions to all of our panelists and kind of take us all on a timeline of what it was like from you starting your application to fully submitting and actually getting started in the program. So one of the first questions I'd like to ask is, what questions or concerns did you have before actually getting started in your program? Doris, since you were one of our online students, do you mind answering that first?
Sure. I think, the biggest concern is, you don't want to be learning in a bubble. I mean, I chose USC because, the world-class education, the potential exposure, to, people who are top of their field. And so, yeah, that was a big concern that I would be, getting lesser somehow. But that really quickly went away through my orientation with my admissions counselor, who was Stephen, as a matter of fact, walking me through everything, getting set up, and just through the first courses, and just realizing how interactive it was and how connective it was. So that feeling went away really quickly, and plus the opportunities we've already mentioned to, join in on campus when you could.
Amazing. And Lourdes, how about yourself? What did you have any large questions or concerns before you got started with your programs?
Of course, I mean, the first thing I thought of, especially as an undergrad, was you hear so many occasions, and it's very normal for you to change majors or change what you want to study. So I went into this as a pre-med student in gerontology. Um, but the first week, I did not want to take physics and chemistry and all of these classes, and I switched over to their social sciences side, and that's when I added my minor. But even then, I fell in love with the gerontology program itself, that I didn't even consider wanting to switch majors or switch to a different school. And once I started my master's, I actually enjoyed just taking solely gerontology classes so much, because I was just focusing on what I wanted to dedicate my career to. So I was a little bit nervous about that in the beginning, and it is very common to switch complete sides, from medicine to business to engineering, whatever. It's totally normal, but I really fell in love with the gerontology program. So I'm happy that didn't happen to me.
I do. When I speak to students, flexibility is a huge thing for them. So I'm glad to hear that that was your experience and it wasn't too harsh of a transition to kind of find the program that was right for you. And then Miguel, I wanted to ask you as well, since you yourself are also a double Trojan, can you talk a little bit more about what classes or faculty or experiences stood out to you in your first semester, if you can go back in your memory and put yourself back in that position?
Oh, yeah. So when I first came here, yeah, I was impressed by the world-class faculty here. So my very first class was, yeah, with the professor who has passed away. His name is Dr. Drashano, who used to be an actor in the field, and he himself is a living testimony of a successful aging. And he was a actor for 30 years, and he didn't go back to school until the age of 55. And at the age of 55, he went back to school to get his bachelor's degree, and then he joined the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology as a master student. And at the age of 64, and then he continued to do his PhD. At the age of 64, he got his PhD degree, and then he did research and teaching at USC. So on the first day, I was very impressed by his legendary stories, and he was such an inspiration for me. And I had the privilege to work with him as his very last assistant, and before joining the PhD program, and that's kind of uh, inspired me a lot. And at USC, Dr. Droshan is just one of the examples. We have a lot of world-class faculty members, and you will find the research and the courses here are so multidisciplinary. We have courses in like sociology, in psychology, in biology, and all of the courses are taught by world-class elite professors. So yeah, I'm sure the School of Gerontology is a right place for you to consider if you are considering either graduate education or undergraduate education.
Thank you, Ming Zhao. Yes, Professor Shannon's passing is something that he is a very much so a well-missed professor. I've heard that from a lot of students actually. So thank you for mentioning him as well. And Amor, I wanted to ask you too. So since you were a part of our progressive degree program, like Lourdes, and were able to spend so much time at the university as well, can you talk a little bit more about how your perspectives kind of shifted to, especially going from a bachelor's degree into a master's degree. That's kind of a lot of a transition. So can you talk a bit more about how the coursework changed and how you overall adapted to that?
Yeah, so to take it all the way to the beginning now, I started USC as a biology major, and I knew that I wanted to do health sciences, but I wasn't sure exactly what. And I think that my greatest influences were my grandparents, like, especially because I had them at the time when I started, and just seeing their day to day and knowing, okay, I think I kind of want to go more into aging, see where that's going. So that's initial why I chose to pursue a bachelor's in the School of Gerontology. And then also I was pre-med and I realized I didn't really want to do the heavy science classes. I wanted to work more like hands-on with people, and kind of go through their day-to-day lives, looking at demography, looking at, different injustices that are shown towards older adults, that they experience every day, and kind of going more into that. So that transition was a little more, I'd say, time consuming trying to figure that out, because you're going from your bachelor's where you're finishing all of your gerontology classes, that you're learning a lot about just aging in general and longevity and the psychology, social policy, sociology, and physiology of aging. So going into your master's, or going into my master's, I had to really hone in on what I wanted to look at. And I realized that I was more passionate about, advocacy and speaking up for older adults and finding ways to kind of uh, make the world a little bit of a better place for the aging population, make it a little bit easier, because there's not as much accessibility as there could be. So I would say that was maybe the hardest part about transitioning to my master's. But the best part about it was there's so many classes that are offered at Leonard Davis. So, I was able to take, a plethora of different just overviews of aging, and really go into a specialization, almost, I would say, of classes that like fostered me wanting to be an advocate or policy, and finding different ways in how we can support the aging population, while being hands-on with groups of aging people.
Amazing. What a journey. So before we dive into a few kind of rapid fire questions, I also just wanted to ask everybody if you could, as your current self, go back and give the person who you were when you were first starting your program, if you could share one piece of advice with them, could you unmute and then, of course, just mention what you would share with your former self before starting the program?
You go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, take advantage, not take advantage, but take advantage of the relationships that you have with your professors. I noticed that, a lot of times it might be a little scary to just college in general, or university in general, but being able to speak to your professors. And I think that because the School of Gerontology is such a close-knit family, it's a lot easier to speak to professors because you don't, have to go to a lecture hall of 300 students where you're waiting in a line to talk to your professor about your paper or whatever it may be. You'll have a better chance of having a closer relationship with your professors, being able to understand the curriculum more. And I would just tell myself to do that earlier on, freshman, sophomore, junior, like earlier on, because I realized I started doing it more in my my last later years of USC, and I could have been doing it so much earlier. So I told myself.
That's great. And Doris, can you share a piece of advice that you would share with your former self?
Sure. I think, coming in as a older adult learner, I think I would have gone back and when I started and tell myself, to be bold in class, feel free to share, my perspective, because I'm a little bit ahead of the curve of a lot of the students there. had, experience to share. And sometimes it feels like, oh, should I say that or not? And if I go back to, to myself, I would say, go ahead, share what you know. It was a very collaborative environment. The classrooms, even being an online student, you can see the other people in classes, the way they do the cameras. So it was very participative. And I think I would just tell myself to, not be afraid, be bold.
Wonderful. And Mingzhou, how about you?
Yeah, I will share, similar things like to be more active, like because I first came here, I'm an international student, so to adapt to a new environment was kind of challenging for me in the beginning, and I felt that, and especially I'm a person who come from an Asian culture, and we encourage being modest. And at that time, when I first started the program, I was kind of in the classroom. I kind of held my opinions. I was reluctant to share, but gradually I found, this place is such a collaborative place, and because we are multidisciplinary, so people have is it's very we are encouraging people to share different opinions from different perspectives, so that can promote the synthesis of knowledge from different aspects. So yeah, I would I would encourage if my previous self to be bolder and be more motivated to share my opinions from another culture. And I feel that is often valued in the classroom, because when I had class with people from different cultural background, we can always learn from each other.
Yes, collaboration is a huge part of, I think, a lot of the aspects of our school. So it's great to hear you say that as well. And Lourdes, how about you?
To be honest, I had such an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful for everything that I lived through, both undergrad and grad. But I would say my piece of advice to myself is not to rush anything and be in the moment. Something that was amazing for me was that I was able to take extra classes and finish a year earlier. But at the same time, because of that, I wasn't able to do a Maymester. I don't know if you guys still offer that to Gero or not, but I would have loved to do that and live abroad. But everything happens for a reason, right? So I would just say, don't try to rush it. Enjoy it. I wish I could go back to my college days. It was the best. So yeah, live in the moment, be present, and enjoy it all.
Fantastic. And I know I mentioned this a second ago, but I do have a couple of rapid fire questions that I'd like to ask each of you. Just think about it for maybe 10 seconds at most. But to start with, Doris, can you tell me what your favorite class was in your time in the program?
Oh my gosh. It was a class with John Pineus. It had to do with doing a walkability study of your community. And it was very enjoyable and also very eye-opening to the type of obstacles or challenges that just getting around that older adults face. And so I really enjoyed that class. That was very, very impactful to me.
Amazing. Thank you. And Lourdes, what was your favorite USC resource that you kind of utilized while you were a student with us?
The faculty of gerontology. I mean, I would go to um, open hours. Is that what it's called, or open hours? Yeah. I mean, participating in class. It's such a small school that it's very easy to actually form a relationship with the faculty and the staff and have them remember you. And thanks to that, I've been 4 years in my job and I hope to stay longer. Thanks to that, I was able to, um, get a scholarship for part of my studies. So I would say what I most enjoyed, the resource that I most enjoyed, and still to this day love connecting with, is the faculty that's there at the gerontology school.
Amazing. And Amor, you have been on quite a few of our study abroad classes. Really quickly, can you tell me which one was your favorite?
I was just asked this the other day, and I would say honestly, the one that I recently attended, the Death and Dying in Ancient and Modern Populations. It took place in Italy, and we got to kind of go around the whole country and look at different practices that the ancient Etruscans, the Romans, and then the early Christians practiced within what we call modern day Italy, and just being able to see the history and the culture of how different civilizations, practice death ceremonies. And, death is not it's a taboo concept to talk about, but the professor, Susan Anguidinos, love her, she makes it more comfortable to kind of bring up because death isn't talked about in many cultures. And it is something that does happen in life. So it was very eye-opening. I was able to just experience a lot of different things that, um, you know, it's just different things, a contrast to, American culture or belief. So
Yeah, very cool. And then Meng Zhao, can you mention just one skill that you gained from either of the programs that you pursued?
I think that is kind of analytic skills, like
Mhm.
you synthesize skills from different aspects and then to build evidence to analyze uh, your data or information either in qualitatively or quantitatively. So yeah.
Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So before we dive into a few audience questions, I did just want to tell everybody a bit more about some of the programs that we offer. We've heard a lot from our wonderful alumni about the programs that they pursued while they were students with us, but I did just want to show some of the opportunities for study that are available at our school. So here are a list of all of the master's programs that we do currently offer. A good majority of them are also available completely online. So if you do have questions about that, of course, as Doris mentioned, our online opportunities for students are very wide. As a student, again, aside from some of the things that our alumni have mentioned, we also do host a colloquium series weekly. So the dean of our school invites visiting lecturers to present more about the research that they are pursuing. As Amor mentioned, you can also join as a member of our Student Gerontology Association and pursue study abroad opportunities. Internships are also very important to our students as well as faculty here, as Lourdes touched on as well. So again, we want to be able to provide students with as many opportunities, not only to just study with us, but to have a really vast student life experience as well. So as I was saying, aside from the Student Gerontology Association, you can also participate in organizations like Gerotech SC, as well as the Dialogues Society. We do have a USC chapter here too. So aside from those other programs that I mentioned, community is a huge emphasis at our school. As our alumni touched on, all of our alumni touched on, community is a huge part of our larger organization as the school. So we want our students to be involved. So aside from those other programs that I mentioned, you can also participate in any of the groups that are here on screen. Again, we want our students to be not only academically active, but also strong members of our community too. So again, within the programs that you do pursue, we encourage our students to pursue internships alongside their studies. Here are some of the different companies that we have had our students do internship rotations, as well as some of the venues that you could do them as well. Again, a lot of the time, I think students kind of think that just because you're studying gerontology, you can only do internships within senior living spaces. But as you can see from the different organizations, as well as venues that are on screen, we want you again to spread your wings and explore all of the options that are most interesting to you. Aside from all of those other ways that you can get invited, the dean of our school, Dr. Cohen, also wants students to get to know him too. So he does host a weekly yoga class where you can do yoga with the dean. And most recently, he has introduced a Gero drum circle. So on Fridays, you can get to know the dean and do a little drum circle outside on the patio. So, for how to apply, if you are interested in getting started, we are still accepting applications for the fall 2026 semester, but we do have some priority application deadlines. The next deadline will be October 15th. That will be for a spring or summer start date. If you are interested again in getting started with us in the fall, you can still submit your application for that. But if you are interested in starting for fall of 2027, the priority application deadline for that will be March 15th. For our PhD applicants, we do have a hard deadline of December 15th or December 1st. That is so that you can be reviewed for the fall 2027 cohort. Since we are a very international campus, I do just like to share that there are also country-specific guidelines for people who are coming from other countries. So I highly recommend scanning the QR code to learn a little bit more about how to apply, whether as a domestic student or as an international student. So again, as you can hear from, or as you've heard from our alumni, there are so many different ways that you can pivot once you have completed a degree with us at the School of Gerontology. So here are just a couple of different options that some of our alumni have gone on to pursue, whether it is through law or pursuing longer term research, studying academia and becoming professors themselves. Of course, healthcare, medicine, and wellness are huge areas of focus for our students too. But if you have an interest in any of the things that are shown on screen, I would highly encourage you to learn more about the program offerings that we do have, and to, of course, reach out to us if you have any questions. With that, I will also go ahead and share my contact information as well as my colleague Stephen. We are both admission counselors at the university. So if you have any questions at all, we are absolutely resources for you to reach out to. Again, if you scan this QR code, it will take you to a link where you can learn more, again, not only about our programs, but also about how to stay in contact with us. So I will go ahead and leave this here. And I do see that we have a quick question. So let me stop this. Alrighty. So we have a great question in the chat now. So I'm going to end with this one. What is the perspective of working on aging issues and on issues of older adults for whom you may not have lived that experience? Do you like it? So in short, kind of as people who are a little younger, what has been your expected or your perspective on working on aging issues or issues within the older adult space? And how, how have you learned how to navigate that? If you can answer that, anybody is free to answer that in the next few moments we've got together.
This is Doris. I'd be happy to kind of kick off the answers. I look at it, and this was, part of getting the perspective through the classes. You're informing the future for your future self. So it gives you kind of a new perspective into what the aging process is. So if you're just somebody who's intellectually curious or, cares about society in general, it informs you that way. So it's very enjoyable. And also, I think it builds a lot of empathy that you may not realize a lot of the challenges that older adults are currently facing or may face in the future. And I think building that empathy is also extremely rewarding.
Thank you, Doris. Did anyone else want to share their perspective on that?
I would also add that the aging field and seniors, it's just growing, and that's all over the world. So being pioneers of just new innovations in any type of field is also very exciting. And again, being at the forefront of that for me is something that I think is super cool. And I think most people, they would rather be working with like younger kids. But I think, we're just going to see more and more need for what we do. And being able to contribute to that for me is very special.
Amazing. And Ming Zhao, I see you've unmuted yourself. Did you want to share something as well?
Yeah, I want to share that the education at the School of Gerontology will prepare us to both professionally and personally. So professionally, because never before the history have we seen so many older people and so many long-lived older people in the world. So it prepares us to uh, work with the aging population in the field, in the industry and in the workforce. And I'm sure that in the future, many of our, no matter what profession you'll be taking, many of our clients will be older adults. And personally, I think because we are all aging, so aging is a privilege for us, and taking those classes can help us to age well and to reach longevity. And yeah, I think what we have learned in the class can inform us to adopt a healthy lifestyle and help us and also help our family members to um, age well and stay a healthy life. So that is my comment.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Amor, did you want to share anything on that?
Yeah, so similar to what everybody's saying, but just having that perspective of aging populations, and it's so cool and crazy at the same time, I'd like to say. But the generation of older adults that we have right now, you know, is not the same generation of older adults that were studying gerontology before. And it's not going to be the same generation of older adults that people study after. So it's so cool to kind of look at the changes of how aging is kind of taking on the population. And it's never going to be the same as what it was before. So it's always room for growth to learn something new about a population because, whatever generation you're in, all of you aren't the same. So the same goes for every single other generation. So looking at that and being able to see kind of where life is going to take you, maybe take some like valuable insights from older populations, and see how you can kind of incorporate them into your day-to-day life. But just learning the pursuit of knowledge, just from learning from people who are older than you and who have experienced more time on this earth, I think it's just really cool. So
Well, thank you so much again. And so I did just want to extend a thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your experiences so openly. I think you've definitely provided our audience with a much clearer picture of what student life at the school is like for you. So again, we just wanted to extend our appreciation to you for your time and your effort on